I'm recording this video on December 10th, 2015. And at the time of this recording, Laravel 5.2 hopefully isn't more than about a month off. You're never too sure, but I would imagine roughly around a month is a good bet. So let's start reviewing some of the new features. And we'll begin with implicit model binding. But first, well, how do we go and install the development version of Laravel? We can do that through Composer. Composer, create a new project. Using the GitHub Laravel repo, we're going to call this Laravel 5.2, and specifically I want the development branch. All right, so I will give that just a minute. Great, so let's cd in there and get set up. So what exactly is implicit model binding? Well, I'm going to show you. Now, Laravel has always, at least for quite a while now, had some implementation of route model binding, but you had to do it manually. So for example, if I were to say route get user/user, well, yeah, we could do something like this. Receive the user, and we automatically get that model. So if I were to return this, then you get the JSON representation of the user. And you don't have to do any of this stuff like app user find or fail by the user ID, stuff like that. You don't have to do it. It just happens automatically for you behind the scenes. However, the way it always worked, if I backtrack just a ways, the way it always worked before is you would have to, within a service provider, manually bind that up. So you just say, okay, when you have this, I want to bind that to this specific Eloquent class. And it's just a small step, but even from my own experiences, just so often I wouldn't do it. But now it's implicit. It happens automatically. So yeah, why don't we just try this out? So let's set up a quick database. I'm just going to use SQLite. And if we scroll down, we need to create the file. So touch database/database.sqlite. And as you know, we get a couple migrations out of the box. Nothing new here, but we do have a users table set up there. Okay, so next I'm going to whip up a couple test users by doing factory app user class, and why don't we create like 3 users? Okay, so we have Rylan, Michael, and Wellington. So all I want to do now is when I request users / and then the user ID, so in this case, if I do 3, we should get this record back. Let's try it out. PHP artisan serve, and if we now visit that URI in Chrome, it works. How cool is that? Easily one of my favorite things in 5.2. It just makes sense. It works. You don't have to think about it. That's when Laravel is at its best. Now, there is one gotcha that you might want to be aware of. Imagine that we just change this to the user. We're going to be very proper. Okay. Well, that's actually not going to work because it's not the same as the wildcard name. So if we switch over, yeah, you see what we get. And in this case, it looks like an array, but that's just because we've type hinted it. If I were to remove that, you'll just get 3 like you always would. So what's happening is Laravel will try to match these up. So in this case, I would need to make that the same. And now you can see that shows up. But typically, it's a non-issue. You'll always do something like this, so it's no problem. And if you want to take a look behind the scenes, let's go to Laravel's router class. And why don't we just look for implicit? There you go. So let's see where this gets called. So, okay, when we start substituting the bindings, we substitute implicit bindings, and if we switch down there, yeah, here we go. So notice, ultimately, our method will be find or fail, basically. So then we say route set parameter, in our case, user, equals user, create a new instance, find or fail, and then we pass in the wildcard. So in this case, it would be 3. So yeah, when we use implicit binding, Laravel behind the scenes just automatically tracks down the record for you. So yeah, we're basically saying user, find or fail 3, and that resulting instance gets associated with the user wildcard. Now, what else? Well, remember, this will work for as many wildcards as you have. So for example, let's say you want to grab a user's posts or something. Well, yeah, in that case, you would do the exact same thing here. And now, if post is 4, then it will do a post find or fail with an argument of 4. And now you have your user instance as well as a post instance, and you didn't have to write more than 1 line of code. So cool. Now though, what about the situations where you're not working with a primary key? So for example, in this situation, we want to track down the user by their username, not by their ID. Okay, well, let's figure that out. Let's go back to our users table and add a username here. So we'll say table string username.